It's Sunday night, 9 o'clock. Welcome to All Lacrosse Live. It's a rough week, guys. Sean's battling a bit. I have been battling again. And, Easter's coming. So the rehearsals are happening. So, unlike Christmas, which goes over 6 weeks, we put 6 weeks into 1 week and just, continually go and pound. So welcome. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. Hopefully you've all had enough green beer that you can still hear us, but are having a good time doing it. With me, as always, I am Gary Groob in Toronto, and with me, of course, I have Shawn Slaght over in Moose Jaw. How are you, Shawn? Feeling a little better?
I'm surviving, Gary. Thanks.
And a happy belated birthday. Yesterday was his birthday, and he had to spend it in sick bay. I feel for you.
Yeah.
Well, at least the rush gave you a victory. So
I can't
small bonuses because the Rock didn't do it for me. But I have Muffler Mike over in Connecticut, and Albany didn't do it for him either. So sorry.
No.
How are you doing, Mike?
I'm doing okay. I had pork verde tacos, so I mean that's green. So
it is. I not only with the Rock cap, but I have the Gales the jersey on. The Rabeski tournament one. And if that failed, well, there was always the backup plan, and that was the Roughnecks and their lacrosse stuff. So. We're covered over here. Gosh, begolly. But that brings us to an interesting point, and that would be the history of Irish lacrosse. Over in the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame website, there was a bit of the history of Irish lacrosse in this book by Michael Kennedy. Now, the book begins with Irish legend and quickly moves into interesting Canadian-Irish connections in the history of lacrosse. In the mid to late 1800s, in particular, following the Great Irish Famine of 1845 to 1852, which saw nearly 1 million Irish people leave their homeland, the Irish immigrant community in Canada grew exponentially. In inner-city Montreal, the Irish Catholic immigrants in particular gravitated to a neighborhood called Griffintown, just along the Lachine Canal. It was here that the Montreal Shamrocks Lacrosse Club was founded by J.B.L. Flynn in 1867-1868. The Shamrock Club would become a dominant force in Canadian lacrosse, and its fans were known as some of the most passionate supporters of any sport in the Montreal area. The biggest rivalry was with the Montreal Lacrosse Club, which happened to also be the club of a certain William George Beers, who are not performing his obligations as a dentist, writing rules of lacrosse, and creating the Victoria Rifles militia group. Beers was a goalkeeper for the Montreal Lacrosse Club. The book includes an array of interesting historical photos from the early days of lacrosse in both Ireland and Canada. Pretty interesting, man, folks.
Sweet.
Not bad, eh? What a great way to start the Irish little thing here. St. Patrick's Day? Yes. Green beer awaiting. Just before we get rolling with everything, because we got a ton to talk about tonight, we're basically an NLL show with a little bit of ALL, but a couple of other small things. Just a few network things while we're at it. The episodes are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and also Twitch. And you can catch all the action on EOPsports.com. Remember to hit the subscribe, follow, and like buttons. Always share. As you can see, we got plenty of shows for everybody. Please take a look at it, see what works for you. And if you've missed a show, no worries. You can grab all the podcasts on all the major podcasting companies, which include iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, so much more. Also, you can catch it on the EOP YouTube page, or if you're looking for our stuff in particular, please go to our YouTube page at All Across All the Time with retro games, interviews, everything else under the sun there. More and more added daily. So please give it a look, give it a subscribe, tell your friends and family All Across All the Time on YouTube. Remember, you can stay up to date with all sports by visiting EOPsports.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. While you're there, please subscribe to our newsletter. I wonder if Salty comes in green. A couple of reminders, upcoming very quickly now, only a couple of weeks away, is the third annual Bats Invitational. This year, of course, it's the Rochester Bats against the Lax 9 North American Invitational champions. That will be April the 6th in the daytime. Doors open 12:30. Face-off is at 1. You have free admission if you have tickets for the Nighthawks game that night against the Riptide. For more information, go over to the Rochester Bats Instagram page, and they will give you all the details. Probably be able to hook you up with cheaper tickets too. Mike Cooper is really great at that. The other one to remember is coming up in July, of course, and is the Rob McDougall third annual fundraiser, helping kids reach their full potential. Has the Junior A game at 3 and the Celebrity game, which is a must-see if you're anywhere in the area, at 6 p.m. Silent auction from 4 till 10, and beer garden and live music. It is a buzz. It is a great time. Lots of lacrosse people around, both players, coaches, management, and rabid fans, and some of us media celebrities as well. July 6th at the track, 2024, obviously. So if you're anywhere near the Oakville area, please have a look at that. It is inexpensive and is a lot of fun. Just a couple of news things before we get into all of the other things that are going on. Orangeville and Owen Sound entered into an affiliation agreement, which is great for both sides because it gives the Northmen, after their Junior A days, a place to play with the Owen Sound North Stars of Major Series Lacrosse, and it gives the Owen Sound a great pool to draw some great teams. So it's a win-win. Sticking with wins, friend of the show and big friend of Mike, Curtis Conley is the new defensive assistant coach for the 24th season of the Peterborough Merritt Junior A Lakers. Another win-win. The Lakers just got a whole lot stronger.
Absolutely.
This will be after maybe he raises his ALL championship because, man, that Whitby team, boy, oh boy. Which brings me, of course, to ALL. Love the segue, eh, guys? Only took forever, but maybe I should figure this out. Shh, don't tell anybody. The Steelhawks did play the Express on Friday, and it was a 13-9 victory for the Steelhawks, which means they finished 13-1 this year. One, I know, I tell you, who beat them? But the game was a lot closer than the score is indicative of. It was 2-1 after the first. One mediocre quarter, which was the second, where Whitby scored 5 times and got off to a 7-3 halftime lead. The next 2 quarters, in the third and fourth, Brampton actually was ahead 3-2 in the third, and Whitby was ahead 4-3 in the fourth, giving you a 13-9 final. Honestly, the Brampton team, this is after 7 straight wins, had a little hiccup against the best team in the league. I would firmly say that they are a team to be reckoned with. And the playoffs start this Friday in Brampton, and I believe they have us weekend. I'll double check that. They have the Peterborough Timbermen Friday night in Brampton for the first of the quarterfinal games. So we moved to Saturday night, and the Peterborough Timbermen were hosting the Oswego Bears, and you all know that Oswego's had a rough start. They've been lost 10 in a row. That's over now, guys. Oswego beat Peterborough 15-12. Yeah, I know you can knock me over with a feather. It was a big second quarter because Peterborough was up 2-1 after the first. 7 goals by Oswego, and they exploded for 7 in the second. And Peterborough just wasn't able to recover from that. Sam Forbes in the Oswego net was the first star. Lucas Beaver had 4 goals and 4 assists for the Bears. And Riley Curtis with a goal and 6 assists was the third star for Peterborough. Peterborough's had a rough time too. I think they've lost 4 or 5 in a row now coming into this. When we get to the power rankings, I will have those numbers for you. Last night, we had the Monarchs playing Oshawa, the Outlaws in Oshawa, in a battle for basically second or third spot in the rankings. And this was a slobber knocker. Yours truly got recruited to work the clock, and I apologize for a few times where I became a reporter and forgot to push the button. Caught watching the game. But, overall it worked. Give me a game where there's 37 goals or 38 goals, and a whole slew of penalties. If you go on the ALL site and take a look at it, you'll see that it is a busy game. The Monarchs actually won 21-17 in this football game. Amazing. Parker Viper, we talked about, who got signed by Colorado. Well, he had a mere 13 points in this game. 7 goals, 6 assists. A couple of penalties go with it just to make sure he hit all the categories. John St. John from Oshawa got 2 goals and 7 assists. Alex Simons, 5 goals and 3 assists for Oshawa. It was a slobber knocker. Craig Wendy in net for Toronto. He took a real big hit in the first. And, as we're talking to him after the game, still sore, but you would have to basically pry him out of the net with, the human spatula before he's going to come off that floor. So just a gamer, an absolute gamer. And really, for everything that's gone down, he's got such a great attitude about everything. Buffalo, hello, Buffalo. I know you got 17 goalies on your roster, but this one is actually NLL proven. It started off weird because before you really got ready, it was already 5-0 for Toronto. And it looked like this thing was going to go south really, really quickly. A scrap here and change a goalie there. And all of a sudden, Oshawa woke up. And by the end of the first quarter, it was 7-5 for Toronto. We had a game. In fact, it was the Monarchs are only up 12-9 at the half. The hostilities, these teams don't like each other, continued into the third quarter. But as I say, final was 21-17. This is going to be interesting if they meet each other in the playoffs. Really, really interesting. I think that this is going to be a must-see playoff game. If it's this heated in game 14 of the season, week 16 of the season, this is going to be something to be seen. We had one game today, and that was the Paris River Wolves, who have fallen on a little bit of hard times, against the Six Nations Snipers, who have been on the uprise of late. And, this game was over quickly, very quickly. The Snipers had an 11-1 lead at the half. Paris has really hit it hard. One of the explanations is they did lose a few players to NLL clubs, but they were in the lineup in this game. So that eliminates that. 23-11, guys.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
If we look at the power rankings of this little shindig here, obviously Whitby is just a powerhouse at 13-1 in first. Brampton is sitting in second with a really good showing against Whitby, with just coming off a 7-game winning streak. The Toronto Monarchs have moved into third, really strong, feisty performance against Oshawa. They've had 77 goals in their last 5 games, averaging just over 15 goals a game. This team can score. Yeah. And with Craig Wendy on, this team can also defend. So, that's your kind of wild card in this playoff scenario. The Oshawa Outlaws, also a strong team. Losers of 3 in a row heading into the playoffs. Not a great scenario, but this team is also a do not quit kind of team. So, this is going to be probably the most interesting playoffs that we've seen since the ALL got started. So, really, really curious to see how this all plays out. The Six Nations Snipers, who had all kinds of trouble getting their first win, are sitting in 5th in the power rankings now. They had a great week beating Paris from pillar to post. 97 goals in their last 6 games. That puts them at 16 goals per game average. That's a force. And they've played everybody. So, they've won 4 of their last 6 and just are looking really good. The River Wolves are sitting in 6th. They've lost 4 in a row. Missing key guys at key times is tough. And that's not going to get any easier with the NLL playoffs around the corner as well. So I don't know. They're having a little bit of trouble. Oswego is sitting in 7th. They finally got that elusive win after a 10-game losing streak. And Peterborough is now sitting in 8th. They've lost 7 in a row heading into the playoffs. And a daunting task, like I said, of facing the the Brampton Express in their first playoff game in Brampton next Friday night. The Snipers will face the Oshawa Outlaws in Oshawa in the early game on Saturday, the 1 p.m. game. The Oswego Bears drew, of course, the Whitby Steelhawks. That'll be the 5 o'clock game over at the Children's Arena in Oshawa next Saturday. And the Sunday game over in Six Nations at the Iroquois Lacrosse Arena is the Toronto Monarchs against the Paris River Wolves. And if they're with a full lineup, this is going to be a heck of a game. Paul St. John, when I talked to him last night, was saying that's probably the game of the weekend. So if you have any inclination to want to watch some Sunday afternoon lacrosse, it's 2 p.m. in Six Nations in Oswego. It's worth the time and worth the effort and inexpensive. So give that a thought. A couple of things with the ALL West. In their last weekend of the season, the Blackfish beat the Sea Spray 17-11, and the Eagles beat the Grizzlies 20-15, which lead us to our standings. And that is the Shooting Eagles in front with a 10-5 record, the Sea Spray in second at 8-7, the Blackfish in third at 7-8, and the Grizzlies up the rear 5-10 is theirs. So. A few little things with the ALL women. They had their week 6, and the Fire Hawks, I believe, against the Skyhawks, a 7-7 tie. Cobras and Sirens 5-4 for the Cobras. The Blazers shut out the Skyhawks 5-0. Firebirds 7, Sirens 5, and the Blazers and Cobras 5-5. We look at the standings. Skyhawks are in first at 8 wins, 2 losses, and 2 ties. Firebirds are right behind them, 8 wins, 3 losses, and a tie. Blazers at 6-4 with 2 ties. Cobra at 3-6 with 2 ties, and the Sirens 1-11. All right, so just going out of order here, buds, is we have our Wings Nest correspondent with us. So, we're going to have to kind of get ourselves in there. We're going to pull off all the other milestones and things. Just Pat's at a little bit of a time crunch tonight. So, Pat, welcome to the show.
What's going on, gentlemen? What's going on?
Oh, man. Pat's actually got a date with some beer, so, he's got to get back over to the pints. I think it's in Dolan's where he's headed.
No. I figured things out. I figured it out. The beard was the total jinx of the Wings. So the minute I shaved it, these guys not only had a game. I couldn't believe what I saw last night. I mean, my eyes are still bothering me. I had to wash my eyes out a few times. Did I see Mitch Jones have himself a game? Did I see Zach Higgins have another great game? And keep in mind, Zach Higgins. Yes, guys. I could have sworn last week he was trying to dart me with a ball, but no, that wasn't the case at all.
Kinetic play of the week, right? He was the turning point. Just before you get rolling on this, I want to show everybody the highlights of it so they know what you're
Yes.
Last week, the Swarm went up 3-0. See if the opposite can happen here with Philly. Bounce shot in. That'll be that for the penalty. Jeff Henrik, 5th in the league in penalties served. Some to more degrees than others. Aaron pass, 10 on the shot clock, comes streaking in, put the shot on top of Dobson, it gets through the 5-hole, and Philadelphia's off to a flying start. Hit Q off to Thompson, Lyle comes up empty, caught by Jackson, back off to Q, try for the quick stick, hey, the rebound's put in by Cole. Now well defended. But yeah, a lot of green, you look around. Oh baby, what a great catch and shoot and score on the quick one. And the league's social media channels. I think 8-10 gets you in the conversation. Not sure if an 8-10 team's going to get in. Might need to get to 9-9. What I do know, what the front office would like to call it, a retooling of the roster. Shot pass, good leaf into the back of the net. Philadelphia really feeling themselves offensively. After winning the title, then lost the first game of the playoffs the next year. 7-4. He'll push and give off to Q. Caught, shot, score! Who had a pin put in his hand during the season earlier this year. Bounce shot gets in. Benny McIntosh is on the board, his first of the night, at least goal-wise. It's a bit of a dangerous moment, in my opinion, if you're Georgia. There it is! A little quick catch and shoot. And now a 9-5 Philadelphia lead.
Down 4 goals. You've got to go for it a little bit there.
Got to get the offense going.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that one would light the wick. There's a bounce shot that gets through Angus Goodleaf in the 5-hole. A bounce shot that gets into the back of the net. The rest of the league pulling against Buffalo. Yeah, well, I can't argue with you too much. Look at this. Shane Jackson score. Will that be the one that lights the wick? Close out this ball game tonight. Climb out of the 12th spot in the standings. Score! Mitch Jones, 4 on the night. Is that a dagger?
They don't look a little slower.
Yep. That one gets through. Bounce shot through Goodleaf. And that almost certainly will be the nail.
It was a nail.
Wow.
Right? That's
It was. And way to respond. Absolutely. And way to respond and going on the road after it looked like all hope, everything was lost for your season. And Tiger Clark gets traded off. So I'm thinking, okay, this team is in sell mode. Who cares? And no, they responded big to this Georgia team. I don't know if Georgia thought, Philly was going to be a day at the beach, but no, Philly came in with a response. And this response is, we're not going away yet. The season's not over. Mitch Jones, as a leader, as the face of the franchise right now, he answers big with 4 goals. Had 9 points on the night, and that's the way. That's what you want to see it from your superstar. And the leaders of this team, Blaze Reardon and Holden Katoni, getting on the scoreboard first. I mean, this is the kind of things you want to see from this team. And if you saw that highlight package, it was a quick ball movement. It was boom, 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 release, shoot, creating space, finding a guy who was wide open. Guys are in the middle. You saw Joe Russell-Terrence, whether it was Blaze Reardon, a Ben McIntosh from the outside. Somebody was open, and Philadelphia scored 4 out of 7 power play goals. I mean, that was something of amazing. And I got to give my guy credit, Zach Higgins. Last 3 games have kept his opponents under double-digit deficits. So again, he's starting to come around a little bit. This team's been playing, clicking on the road. So I mean, am I the mush? Do I need to stay outside the Wells Fargo Center and recover the game? Maybe I have to cover a game or something. I don't know. Maybe it's me. I've come around to that. So. But yeah, I mean, I loved everything I saw from this, this Wings team.
No, I definitely don't stay away. Keep covering them. But,
maybe they'll put me in a tree or something. I don't know.
Again, True. No, I know we've kind of beat this horse dead all year, but 2 overtime losses. You flip those losses, and now they're 7-5, and they're in the playoffs. So you always have to. You always have to, after every game, you got to step back and you got to look at bigger picture. It's easy to get kind of caught up in the minutia of the game, but with these unified standings, it really is. We always say every game counts, but every game counts, and it's big. We'll talk about it later with the logjam at the bottom of the standings. For 3 teams that maybe don't look like they're going to make the playoffs, but technically they're all 2 games back of a playoff spot. with.
You brought up Taggart Clark and getting rid of Taggart Clark, and Paul Day was on record as saying he didn't want to get rid of him because he is a hell of a player, but it was just too tempting when you have a first round draft pick, especially one that could be a really
Could be
Very
number,
high.
be a
Number one, yeah.
number one. So
Wow.
and just real quick, I don't want to take too much time away from Pat here, but when you look at those tiebreakers right now with Colorado, Vancouver, Vegas, they're all 4-9. Right now, Colorado shows, I believe, as 13th, so that would mean the number 3 pick. But they do have a tiebreaker on Vancouver. They swept Vancouver this year in a 2-game series. They have yet to play Vegas. That happens in a few weeks. And Vancouver just beat Vegas, as we'll talk about later. But that's the first of a 2-game series. So they'll be playing again in Vegas in a couple of weeks. So there's a lot that has bearing on how Colorado finishes. And wherever Colorado finishes, that's where Philly's getting that pick. So obviously the hope is with the Mammoth having kind of sold off a couple of players that, that the season continues to go south and you could be looking at the number 1 pick and maybe Brennan O'Neill, a certain world lacrosse hero for USA this past year. So.
It technically tells me it could be a win-win for the Wings because if you look at it, and listen, I think if they don't make the playoffs, they underachieve because there was so much expectations for this team. So again, they're in the hunt with a couple more other teams surrounding that 8th seeded spot, and I feel like the Wings want to get in there in the worst way. And I feel like it's with a win over Georgia, a team like Georgia, a playoff contender team. You took care of Georgia. That tells me you're not willing to pack it up yet. You're willing to try to make moves.
You also chased Dobson from the net too, right? So that
was that's been difficult this year. So
I mean, and then like I said, you got Vancouver coming in. And like I said, the only thing with the Wings though, you got Vancouver coming in Saturday. Then you got that short turnaround because you got the Rush coming in on Thursday, and then you're right back on the following weekend against Buffalo. So I mean. It's going to be a tight little stretch coming down, but I mean, if they, again, somehow, some way, Paul wins out at home. Like I said, they only have 1 win at home. If they can start stacking those things up, I mean, you are really in control of your destiny here, and it's going to be interesting what this team can do. And again, if this defense, and that's what it comes down to with Philly, is the defense. If the defense can stay solid, the world's theirs. It's you have the offenses there. If the offense can stay consistent, who knows? But you got to handle business and what's in front of you. And you did a solid job yesterday. Shocked me. I don't think any of the 4 of us here had Philly as a W. So yeah, good job for the Philadelphia.
Yeah, well, I got you here. We might as well do that thing too.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
I go from 8-0 and I go back to regular at 3-4. Pat's at 4-3. Mike's at 3-4. Sean's at 4-3. Eduardo's 3-4. We all were middle of the road. Year to date, of course, Sean is still sitting just barely in first place at 60-39, but he isn't first. Pat is right on his heels at 59-49. Eduardo at 57-42. I am right behind Eduardo at 56-43, and Mike at 47-52. Still with the New Year's resolution of making it to 500 by the end of the season.
Yeah, Pat should actually be 59-40, I believe. That's
sorry.
Math isn't math in there, but
59-40. Slip the finger on the story.
But hey, speaking of math, I mean, Philadelphia right now is a half a game back of a playoff spot. So they've jumped from 12th to basically 9th, I believe.
Now, and again, this is a bad Vancouver team that's coming in here. But I also seen Philadelphia losing some bad teams also. So playing at home is not exactly playing that Wells Fargo Center.
It's a gimme just yet. We'll get
and again, that was why I wanted to emphasize that big picture thing because they've had some bad losses.
Absolutely. Again,
they've also had 2 overtime losses. They played San Diego to 1 goal. So obviously, ultimately, those go in the loss column, but this team could easily be 7-5 right now instead of 5-7, or even 8-4.
Right.
In which
Right.
case, 8-4, I think they'd be in fourth place right now, third or fourth place. Sorry, fourth place. So,
Well, like I mentioned earlier, if Philly can control themselves, if they could, the offense can stay consistent. If your goal scorers like the McIntoshes, Joe Russatarians, Mitch Jones, if they again with the good ball movements and getting guys in spacing and scoring on the power plays, and most important, you put those things away, draw the bad penalties, have these guys do some dumb things,
It
force
is.
the
That-
turnovers, all
Yeah.
that.
that's a good point, because I believe Philly's number 1 in the league on the power play, if I'm not
You know what I
mistaken.
mean? So all
We can
those
check
start.
that, but I want to say that they're number 1 in the league on the power play, believe it or not. So,
Yeah, that's something to dive into. Again, everything can be on the upswing. So if Philly can sneak into playoffs, get a little playoff experience for some of the guys, and then on the flip side of that, when your season ends, you still have your bright future with, like you said, a potential top draft pick. So the world for Paul Day in the next few years could be really, really bright.
yeah,
So
and let's also not discount the possibility that maybe he takes that pick and he trades it out for a top defender or defenders.
yeah,
It's
Yeah,
just
that
a
could be
thought.
tempting. That could be tempting
It's
too.
just a
Yeah.
thought. So,
yeah. I mean, and that would because their defense, like I said, I've seen those guys get blown off the one-on-ones, the miscommunications. I don't know if you need a new defensive coordinator. I don't know, but there's something that's not communicating between that and leaving Zach Higgins on an island by himself. So you can't do that, or 9 times out of 10, your goaltender is going to get cooked every single time. So. And that's one of the struggles I've seen, especially in the set screens where Philly definitely has their struggles. You have to stay focused and stay on your man, especially in those man-to-man zones. So if Philly can work on their defense and keep things on the up and up, who knows?
yeah, and I'll just I'll throw one quick name out there, just pure speculation here. He actually just got traded from Vegas to Albany, John Wagner. How about going after him in the offseason? His brother plays for Philly already. So, there's possibility. You get John in Philly with Ryan. So,
Hey, listen. We ever got a brother pairing? Bring them all in. Let's go. So, but yeah, guys, look. I mean, like I said, when I see that Vancouver team, like I said, I know it's again, it's going to be no day at the office, but if they can find a way, get a win at home, building some momentum off this game, playing at home, get yourself another W. Again, all things are up. So I'm staying optimistic right now. I'm going to wear my black and gold sunglasses. I'm going to be walking around for the next 2 days, all happy. So, guys, I want to say thank you so much for having me on. And, guys, continue to have a great show.
thanks, Pat.
Is that up? Gary's muted.
Gary, you're muted.
How about that? Thank you, Pat.
There you go.
Thank you for being with us. Of course, the Wings Nest. I was actually doing my best work right there. So, anyways, let's get back to some of these other things, and we'll hit the rest of the NLL games. Got a bunch of little things to go get over. As I hit the button by accident, there was a trade in the PLL. The Atlas is looking to retool, and they traded Chris Gray to the Redwoods for the number 5 pick in the 2024 draft, which is just upcoming. Chris Gray is a big piece on their offense, but it obviously wasn't working last year. So
Yeah, and that's a big help to Redwoods because they got pretty depleted. They
yes,
had quite a number of guys depart for other teams. So
now for the big news, and Mike, you already have it on your door. Brody Merrill came out of retirement, and he played. Didn't play great, but he played. You can tell he's a little rusty from not playing for a year and a half, 2 years. And, let's see how that all plays out. He needs to relax. He needs to let the players come to him. He shouldn't be chasing, because that's just going to get him penalties. So that's only one part of the question marks that came out of that game. But we'll get to that in a few minutes. The other big piece of news was out of Vegas, and Reed Reinhold got released. He is the NLL PA Vice President and Executive Director, so it's not like he's looking for work. But when I was talking to him this week, Vancouver is a definite possibility since he lives in that area, and he's just waiting for his wife to give birth, and everything's on hold until that happens, and then he'll start putting feelers back out to see where his next stop is, because his career is not over yet.
Oh, yeah.
So we wish him the best. He will be on the other show of mine in a couple of weeks. He was supposed to be on this past week, but due to an illness of our owner producer there, we weren't able to get the show out. So it'll be up first week of April. So look forward to doing that. Now, we talked about the trade deadline briefly. The few trades that we had, it was not a fire fest that everybody might have thought. We had 4 trades. We talked about this one already. John Wagner went to Albany, and Cam Baddour and a 2024 first-round pick goes to Las Vegas. I think they both win here. Las Vegas is still finding an identity. They need that first-round pick.
Yeah. And I guess you could all sort of argue Albany doesn't, since they have Tyson Williams potentially coming in.
Yeah, exactly.
Next year. So,
well, in essence, they have a first-round pick, and he's going to join the team now. So
yep.
Just another one there isn't really going to help much. They get a 4th-round pick out of it as well, but we'll see what they can the diamond in the rough that they're going to find. The next one, of course, this one was interesting also. Colorado traded Paul Dawson to Buffalo, as well as a 3rd-round pick for the 2024 draft. In return, Colorado receives a 2nd-round pick in the 2024 and a 2nd round in the 2025 draft. Again, both teams win. Dawson played a big role last night in grabbing loose balls and just being a tree. He was just solid out there. And Buffalo's defense, we've talked about it a number of weeks. With the depletion due to injury, they needed a veteran leader out there. I'm just curious if his penalty is his want to get in the box is going to hurt them down the stretch. I know Toronto went pretty wild on the power play last night, so their penalty kill isn't great. So that's my only if on that one. Colorado getting a couple of top picks for the next couple of drafts is definitely part of their rebuild.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The next one was also from Colorado, and that was sending Chris Wardle over to the Seals for a conditional 3rd-round pick in the 2025 draft. Not sure what the conditions are on that, or if it moves up if certain things don't happen. But again, the Seals get older. They have obviously a very competent player, but the Seals get older. So I know they're going for broke this year. They're going to be in some trouble 2 years from now, because they won't have any picks and they won't have any players.
100%, yeah.
So just something to put out there. The offense already was stacked. Chris Wardle, I don't know where he's going to fit in with everything in that, other than giving some guys, some guys some rest down the stretch. I know Austin Stotts is banged up. I know Dobie is banged up. So you might want to give these guys a week off here and there and have Wardle in there just to, fill the void.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably going to be more of a depth move there.
And Matt is with us. How you doing, Matt? Thanks for dropping in with us. But
there is talk about Mac O'Keefe having some commitments, back east. So maybe that's
that was a surprise. That
maybe that's kind of a short-term plan. Is they'll unload him in the off-season in exchange for some draft picks, get some of those picks back. So
yeah. The other move of the week, of course, was the one we talked about already. Was Tiger Clark going to New York with a 2nd-round pick, and in return, Philly receives a 1st-round pick for 2024, which could be a 1st overall pick, and a 3rd-round pick in 2025. So, again, 2 legitimate picks for Paul Day, who really is trying to build back his arsenal in picks because they don't have many. Last week's Player of the Week was Connor Fields with 6 goals and 5 assists in that huge win over Albany. Huge, and I mean lots of scoring. And the rookie of the week was Callum Jones with a goal, 2 loose balls, and 1 caused turnover. A few milestones, guys. Ryan Benesh, he is now 7th all-time in games played in NLL history, surpasses Josh Sanderson with 269 games played. Congratulations, Ryan. Looking younger every week. Curtis Dixon with 1,000 points. That's a huge one.
Yeah.
16th player in NLL history to hit that mark. Jeff Teague with his weekly milestone, up to 200 assists. That took no time at all for him. Chris Boucher, he has had a couple of massive weeks for Toronto. He now has 200 career points. Big stuff. John Wagner, 300 career loose balls. Congratulations. Mr. Jackson, with his big week, is now at 200 career points. And we'll get to that game soon. Landon Kells, he got to 1,000 saves real fast, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess when you see 60 to 80 shots a week, it doesn't take very long, does it? And, of course, the coach, Kurt Malosky, 7th all-time now. NLL coach wins with 94. 100 is just around the corner. He will join Mike Hazen and a bunch of other guys. Pretty cool. Now, the Rock, even though they lost yesterday to Buffalo, a few scenarios that needed to happen would be a win versus Buffalo, a Panther City win versus Halifax, an Albany win versus Rochester, which none of those happened. A Philadelphia win versus Georgia. Thank you, Philadelphia. And Rock clinch a playoff spot, which is good because they have a pretty tough schedule over the next little while. So that brings us to our NLL portion. We can start off, I guess, with the Halifax Panther City game from Friday night. And hat-tricks from Peterson and Shanks lead the Thunderbirds to win over Panther City in first ever meeting between the two clubs. That will change now because of the new systems. But, show you just how crazy the old schedules were. Let's have a look at some of the highlights of that game, and then we can chat about it.
Halifax with another shot. Thede picks up the loose ball. Bucket scores! Feeling the need for Thede. What a beauty backhander. And it's 3-1 Halifax. Malcolm shoots. Rang off the post. Rebound. Halifax will get it. Going up the floor. Terefeko. One hand on a stick. Goes to the goal. He scores! Ryan Terefeko with a highlight reel goal. No one's stopping Terry. Again in Halifax.
It certainly is.
Here's Peterson. Peterson moves it over. Aaron Woods with a bouncer, and he scores. Sends it over for Aaron Woods. And Woods starting the season out in front. They score. What a feed by Woods. Out in front.
10-11. 10 for 11. Jake Withers on the faceoff as well.
Benesh, what a pass across. Back to Benesh. Scores! What a beauty. Ryan Benesh. Did not. McLeod was there for the save. Panther City coming down the other way. They'll slow it down. There's the pass. There's a shot. They score. Malcolm back to Knox. 12 on the shot clock. Sheridan coming in, shoots, he scores! A beauty by Ryan Sheridan as he stayed into the crease and tucked it past Warren Hill, and it's a 10-6 game.
But instead, he kind of just blocks McLeod. And that's the first goal that McLeod's given up since entering the game in the second half, Pete.
Here's Withers doing it himself. All Withers, all the time. 2 quickies by the Thunderbirds, and they got a dozen. A hustle as well. Austin Shanks. Here's a chance out in front. Shot, they score! Clark Peterson with another one. Grew up just outside of Belfast, and him and his sister actually the first to be born over here. Here's a chance, and they score. Phil Caputo, I believe, going to the crease, and That ends the run, makes it 13-8.
Well, this is a tale of two games, guys. 10-2 after the first half, and it looked like it was just going to be an absolute farce, just an absolute blowout. Panther City just looked completely discombobulated in that first half. Ironically, in the second half, I don't know what Tracy Kostiuk said in that dressing room, but he got him fired up. First off was the big fight between Malcolm Thompson and names
Mitchell.
Yeah, Mitchell. That's right. Just to knock him down, drag him out, brawl. And from that point on, also putting McLeod in net, and he was stunning in net in relief of Nick Damoud. He didn't give up a goal until midway through the fourth. He stopped them, in which time Panther City got 5 goals to bring this to a 10-7 game and really get the people in Halifax a little bit uncomfortable. And the party had stopped briefly. And then, of course, the 3-goal run, including that 1 goal by Withers off the faceoff, which was, I think, 7 seconds after the last one. That just kind of, that was the end of that. Caputo had a couple of goals late, but really by that time it was already a decided game. So I'm a little bit curious about Panther City. We see them looking great one week. We see them looking a little bit uninterested the next week, and they're fighting for a playoff spot. Any takes?
Yeah, I was just going to say the same. It's just like a lot of those teams are fighting for that playoff spot. They're lacking consistency.
Yeah. Even Halifax for that matter. But, they came out guns a-blazing. They needed this, and they really put it to the metal early. Kind of reminded me of that first week against Saskatchewan. It was a flashback in the middle of all that. But this team can score. Don't fool yourself. Clark Peterson had a great night with a couple of goals, a few goals actually. Also, Austin Shanks looked really good in this game, and for the first time in a number of weeks, he looked really, really comfortable. And as those two go, so does the offense there. And Cody Jamieson is doing what Cody Jamieson does, even though he only had a goal and an assist. It was a pivotal goal, and he set a lot of picks, and he's everywhere on that floor. So if anybody thinks his career is about done, I don't think so yet. I think there's still a lot more in the tank there. But even guys like Wake-Rehab Bowhunter, setting picks, also getting things, drawing the offense to him, which opens up other guys because he's got such a mean shot. So, any thoughts, guys? Mike?
Yeah, obviously a tough loss for Panther City. That's, it's, coming off that overtime win against Philly, and kind of moving up into a playoff spot. You'd think they would have come out with a little more fire, to start the game.
Yeah.
But I said my improvements, I think Coach Kolosky's been, preaching constant improvement every week. And, for the most part, I think they are working on fixing whatever deficiencies they have.
Well, I'd be looking at the defense this week because that first half was just terrible. Nick Damoud's one who got pulled, but he got hung out to dry half a dozen times. So something needs to correct and quickly if they hope to be in the playoffs. All right, let's move ourselves over. We're going to go over to the San Diego-Calgary game, which looked like it was going to be a high-scoring affair. However, that wasn't to be. It was a 7-6 final for San Diego. Balance attack allows Seals to hold on for a 1-goal win over the Roughnecks. Let's look at the highlights in this because first half looked like it was going to be a little bit more because Calgary really couldn't get on track. Wrigley area looked really good. And then in the second half, all the scoring stopped.
Now right away, here comes Seals and scores! Oh, off the face-off is Austin Stotts. Found himself a lane, and all of a sudden it's 2-0 San Diego. Taking his trade to San Diego, play back off high to Berg, takes the shot and scores. Wes Berg makes it 4-0 San Diego.
Yeah, some words between Del Bianco and Ethan Ticehurst.
Dixon back to the defender. Now tries to curl off of him. Finds some room. There's a shot. Scores! Oh, Westberg! Pretty goal. 5-1 San Diego. Now a battle near the wall for it. Pace comes out with it. Pace with room. Takes a shot. Scores! Tyler Pace on the power play. It's 5-2 as the Roughnecks get to within 3. And again, was brought in specifically to shore up that part of the San Diego game and has done that. Now Stotts to the net. He scores! Austin Stotts cuts in and cashes in. It's 6-2 San Diego.
East and turn the ball over.
Now here's Cook for the Roughnecks. Cook with room, takes the shot. He scores! Tanner Cook, and it's 6-4 the Roughnecks within 2. Jesse King with it. King with 1 tonight. Hanging on, has some room now. King takes the shot, scores! Jesse King, second of the night. Dobie just walking it slowly in, now down to 10 seconds. Now he starts forward behind the back to Stotts. Stotts over to LeClaire, and it's in the net. Wow, what passing by the Seals. And it's 7-5. It has gone absolutely dry. So one of those long rainbow passes from Del Bianco would be just what the doctor ordered, but that will work as well as Tanner Cook dials it from long distance. And
not a lot of scoring, guys.
No.
My question to you guys is, if I'm a San Diego Seals fan, am I concerned with all this firepower? 7 goals, and Trey Leclerc is the one who got the game winner.
I mean, you were against a guy like Christian Del Bianco, so I think you maybe expected a little bit more of a lower scoring game. But yeah, a little bit. The guy like Westberg had 2 goals and 1 assist. Like, that's the guy who's usually, he's putting up 5, 6, 7, 8 points a game. You expect more out of that, and especially the second half. Seals fans might hate me for saying this, but are you a little old and slow? And
are you tired?
Running out of gas, yeah. And especially a team like Calgary, where they're going to kill you on transition if you're not quick. Suddenly they're on a breakaway at the other end of the floor.
Okay, Mike, you got the Merrill jersey on the door. What was your thoughts on Merrill?
Yeah, I mean, maybe lost a step a bit. A little bit rusty, but
he was the first one to admit it in the halftime interview. And he's trying to get his feeling out of things. Are looking a little quick to him right now, and let's see after a couple of games. But after a couple of games, you know where you are? The playoffs.
Yeah.
So it better be a quick turnaround for a guy who's already called it quits once.
Yeah, I would think he's capable of that.
I'm sure he is.
As much as maybe the lack of scoring might be a concern, and the age and conditioning might be a concern. I mean, they're in second place now.
Yeah, win's a win.
So
yeah.
They do keep reeling them off, and they have I think they have a fairly favorable schedule, the rest of the way out. So.
So it was going to see a lot more Wardle than we are. We're going to see guys like Dobie sit and Wardle jump in.
We might. I think they would have a chance. They might even have a chance to clinch a spot this week with a win. So similar to Toronto.
Yeah. Well, Toronto doesn't have to worry about sitting people out because they have so many injuries that they sit out anyways. So. When the list is longer than your regular roster, it's frightening. And that they're able still to rhyme off wins.
That's a great point, because that's the thing I look at with San Diego is if you have a guy like Adobe or even Westberg that goes down, there's your season, right? Like, they really don't have the depth like a Toronto.
It's true. Because once those initial guys, if Stott's knee, and has been giving him problems.
Yeah.
Dobie. Dixon already sat out one the other day against Toronto, of all things.
I think he sat out a couple. I think he was out against Panther City the week before. So.
Right. So. This is what you do when you have an aging lineup. You have to pace it because otherwise you have nothing in the tank come playoff time when it matters. And I know San Diego was stunned last year when they got eliminated, and I don't think they want to go through that again. So pacing is a big thing.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on over to the surprise of the week, and that was the Vancouver-Vegas game. Where Vancouver, I guess they pulled a Vegas on them. Charlotte Beatty, 4 goals, 4 assists, scores game winner. Goals, Warriors come back in home win. Jackson scores career high 8 goals for Vegas. He couldn't miss. He had an incredible game. But the comeback was just that. Let's look at the highlights and we'll get into our little spiel, shall we?
Simply for Vancouver early in this game.
No, Vegas.
Hannah scores.
So deceptive, so quick.
3-1 Vegas, approaching 5 minutes to go first quarter. Charlotte Beatties. Charbonneau closes the gap. Now Jackson into the middle, loads up. Suber scores. Hannah, corner feed. Jackson looking and scores. Oh, a little reacher to the far side, fooled Walsh.
This is 15th of the game.
Shots now 17-11, but it's the Desert Dogs who lead by 3, make it 4. As there's another past Walsh. Hannah, step around to the crease. Jackson has a look, scores. He's got another. That's 5 for Jackson. They missed 28 over the last couple of games, and they're happy to have him back in the lineup as he cuts right in and scores. Rebounding. Welcome back. Ells able to get a shoulder on that one as the ball stayed in play.
They've had that underneath with a few different guys.
Martel scores. The faceoffs will be heavily askew for the Warriors, but it has not quite resulted on the scoreboard yet. But it does there. Of the Desert Dogs. Subak lead feed. Martel scores. How did that get by? Bianco putting on a clinic at the Saddle Dome tonight in between the pipes. Jackson, suck trick. Almost looked like he turned an ankle there. Charlotte Beatties into the middle. Spins away from Rouet. Up pick Lowen. Charlotte Beatties. Stay in play here. 15 on the shot clock. There's a little adjustment here from Malowski to put ball over onto the shooter and put Charlotte Beatties at the shovel feed ball. Waiting for a pick. He gets one. Fire, scores! Ball's heating up, and Vancouver is in the lead. And ready to go to work. Here's Jackson, scores! Touchdown, Jackson! He's got 7! When you're winning draws after giving up goals, not only scoring goals, but giving them up. And that's what happens as Martel has another. And a good reply from Vancouver as Jackson to Hannah with speed. Shakes off a check. Backhand feed. Jackson's got 8. Into taking a shot late in the clock when they should have had a full clock to work with. As in comes Charlotte Beatties, and he scores! And behind him. And Vegas comes up with a much-needed stop. As here comes Saunders into the middle. Zach Greer scores! So they'll work at 30. Vegas set up for last possession if Vancouver doesn't cash, but here's Charlotte Beatties, and he scores!
And there it is, guys. Charlotte Beatties with a winner with 30 seconds left. Or with the clock keeping going, I'm noticing this stuff now.
Well, you did say unexpected, but we all picked Vancouver to win this game.
We did.
I do want to point.
It's just when you have an insurmountable, or seems like an insurmountable lead. Well,
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Vegas was up 7-2, and Casey Jackson was on fire. He had 5 of those first 7 goals.
yeah.
So, en route to 8 on the night. But
That 8th one was sweet, wasn't it?
Yeah.
boy, the
That speed was
feed and
something else.
quick stick. I've always thought he's one of the top 5 quick stick guys in the league. But for me, seeing I think the level of trust and confidence in the Warriors team, that's it you can see it growing every single game. And I think that's what I had said, when I made my pick. The comment I made was, you can see the confidence building with every single game, that the team is progressing. And I wasn't seeing the same thing out of Vegas, over the last month.
Well, Miloski's culture is starting to take shape now. And it's our way or Sia. And he's brought in guys that have played for him before, that know what he's about. So the message doesn't have to come from him anymore. Now it's in-room kind of conversations, and guys are jumping on board, and you can see it.
Yep.
Another big game from Walsh too.
Yeah, that was actually the point I was going to make, was Aiden Walsh. I mean, you're seeing the Aaron Bold factor, right? Having that mentor behind him, and it's showing now. He's starting to round into the goaltender we were expecting, right?
Right. I'm not convinced about Kells over in Vegas. I'm just there's something about him. That's not the answer. And all good teams work from the back out, and I think that's a piece that Sean Williams needs to look at. I know he was high on him a couple of years ago, but things change, and maybe it's time to cut bait and try again into the pool of where we can go for goalies.
Yeah. The other thing I was just going to mention too, as much as Casey Jackson had 8 goals out of 12.
Yeah.
Where was the rest of your offense?
Yeah.
We've talked about this before, is that Vegas seems to be sporadic at best. If Casey Jackson only had 4 goals, this isn't a huge comeback, is it?
No,
not at all.
So it's a good question. So where is the offense? And what can Williams do short term, because they are still battling for a playoff spot, that they are a little bit more consistent, because they'll play at one team very tough and the next team not so tough.
Yeah. Next up they have they're in San Diego, and then after that they're back at home against Vancouver.
We just seen a game where you'll probably see Dobie sit and probably see Stott sit, because they can afford it.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I would think San Diego did lose to them earlier in the season in a pretty bad. I think it was like an 8-4 game or 8-6 or something like that. That the game was kind of out of hand in the fourth quarter. I think it was like 8-2.
I remember that game. Yeah.
So
it was a stunning game, but stunning more that the firepower on San Diego only had 2. Just like they only had 7 in a victory this time. Good teams find ways to win, but still, that's not going to happen in the playoffs. You're not playing a team that's sitting at 3-11 in the playoffs.
Especially in unified standings now, because you're getting the best of the best. It doesn't matter if you're East or West.
Yeah, even if you're able to get one that's not as great in the first round, come round 2, the upper echelon are in there for the last 2 rounds. So,
yeah, and again, Vancouver only 2 games back. They're at Philly, and then they're at Vegas again, but then they have I think they finish with New York and at San Diego. And if San Diego's resting people, they do have to.
Already.
They do host Halifax as well. So, but that's kind of later, and Halifax could have a playoff berth by then. So,
yeah,
there'll be some interesting games coming down the stretch. Ones will be head scratchers, but not really because of situation. All right, let's move on to another one. It was, I would say, an upset, but this is a deja vu. Rochester and Albany. Rochester, stays hot. Field stays hot with a hat trick as the Nighthawks win third straight. Sweep season series against the Fire Wolves. That's big, especially if Rochester's catching fire. Let's have a look at the highlights, and we'll talk about it from there.
We're off and running here at MVP Arena. One of 3 games tonight in the NLL. Doorstep shot, and Rochester on the board 21 seconds in. Game stretch. And while a loss for Albany last week, they've won 4 of 5. A delayed penalty, Jamison leaves the floor, so Albany can go 6 on 5. Simmons! Somehow it goes in! In front, feed to Waters. Here's Mike Hazen, wants that big body in front to rough things up. Field scores. Short side on Jamison.
Playoffs, and we want to be in the playoffs. Obviously, everybody does, but we've got a good record right now, and we expect to be in the playoffs. And with the youth movement, that's it takes some time. Great specials. There's just if you haven't, it's hard to say if you've never seen a Fire Wolves game or an NLL game how fun it is when you come to these games.
Season, you're starting to see him get a bit comfortable in his first year as a starter, really first year getting any starts, and then you just have so many different options that can fire from all over, and that's what we're seeing here.
Ryan Smith on the run. Here comes Grennan, stomps on the brakes. Kurt swings the ball. Another screen set by Paulus. Now Firth dumps it, and Kurt scores. Simmons looking at it. Underhand toss to Walker. Around the screen. Walker, a bullet! Oh, there it is! Ethan Walker.
Having an ease with his saves, doesn't really seem to get rattled. The economy of movement's been strong, and he's made everything he's needed to.
Quick whistling shot there by Ogilvie on the break on the other. One by Simmons at the top of the arc. Jab step, Simmons to Walker, scores!
Big save there by Doug Jamison. Despite the size, Brendan, his positioning has been outstanding, especially you've seen it this year.
And they go short-handed on the other side. It was once 8-2 Rochester. 6 minutes left in the second, and they get that goal right back. McConvey with the score. Vancouver was in Colorado for 8 years, a big proponent of Dan Carey, and once again, Connor Fields scores on the power play. Jamison stays back, 5-on-5 Lacrosse. Albany down by 2. Paulus from up top, he scores! 1 goal game as a rookie out of UMass. Sprints up the floor, 15 seconds, shot clock is off. Albany down by 1. Around the screen, delivered by Kurtz, nothing there. Launched on the other end of the floor, trickling wide, but it don't matter.
And there you have it. And Rochester comes away with back-to-back victories over Albany.
Yeah, and that's 3 in a row now. So, it started out the season on a 3-game win streak, dropped 6 straight. Now they're on another 3-game win streak and back at 500, and more importantly, in the number 7 playoff spot, I believe. At
right.
6-6. Yeah. So
this team can score. This team can score. They got a lot of
they can, and I think it's not being discussed enough. They're they've got this high-powered offense, and it's basically, 2 of the main guys are you could almost call them reclamation projects in Ryan Lanchberry and Kyle Waters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That they've taken on, and a change of scenery has done both of them wonders for their game.
Yeah, Kyle Waters is a big body, too. He's tough to move.
And hey, take Ryan Smith, Lanchberry, Waters, Fields, and McConvey. Give me another 5 guys on a different team that are right now that, I can see them going head to head, with Buffalo's top 5 or San Diego's top 5, Toronto's top 5, and holding their own.
Yeah. It comes down to defense in those games, though.
Even Albany's top 5, you know?
Well,
I mean,
we've seen that the last 2 weeks, right? More last week than this week of them going punch for punch and then actually out-punching the punchers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, well, we'll see it in a couple of weeks' time when Rochester comes to Toronto. And hopefully Rogers is back in the lineup at that point, too. Because as we'll see in the next one when we talk about Buffalo and Toronto, that's a big missing piece for both sides, defense and offense, because he does so much on the floor. But to get back to Rochester, Hutchcraft in net, he's finally feeling it. 40 saves in this game. He looked good. He looked like the Hutchcraft that I was talking about from the Mimico days.
Which is interesting because they showed a video of what's his face there, Hartley taking shots in warm up. So
that's interesting too, eh?
Yeah.
That's insane in my opinion. But he needs the year to rest, and then really be examined. I know that they're obviously going through cerebral tests, but. Still, even in practice, you get one the wrong way, then what?
And we know his history.
That's what I mean. Like,
yeah,
it's one thing if it's the first or second. Yeah. It's a number of concussions, and you really have to be extra careful about this, especially in this day and age where we are actually very, I would say, more cautious than any other era going. And still, I still think that things slide through.
Yep.
Like right now, I wouldn't upset the apple cart. Hutchcraft is feeling it. Buchan is a competent NLL backup.
Yep.
No need to rush him whatsoever. The consequences are dire.
Yep.
That's all I got to say about that, really. Eduardo made it. Eduardo, we hope you're feeling a little bit better.
Yeah.
You had a little bit of trouble also. So great to have you with us. All right, guys. That brings us over to, the nicest jerseys of the evening anyway. Smith, 3 goals, 4 assists. Byrne, 2 goals, 5 assists. Laid away for the dramatic home win when Bandit land. Small and Boucher got 4 in the loss. 18,000 plus in Bandit land, man.
Yeah.
That place was just absolutely nutty, cuckoo bananas. And, it is normally, but this was even a little bit more because of that rivalry being so fierce. And, if you're going to get a good game out of everybody, this is the game you're going to get it. We'll talk about how much we showed this is a game of runs. But when you're watching this clip, these are the best St. Patrick's Day jerseys I've seen in a while.
Schreiber trying to make the most of this possession. Shoot, scores! 2 quick ones for Toronto, and Schreiber follows up Boucher to give the Rock a 2-0 lead. And as you mentioned, those two know each other from summer lacrosse as the Bandits find the back of the net again. What a move from Chase Fraser. 2 losses Toronto suffered this season to this point. Bandits back to work. Smith again. Oh, what a drive and a goal from Dave Smith. And the rivalry kicks into full gear after the fact. Very short power play window. Boucher. Now to Matthews. Looking to the side. Boucher scores! What a quick stick finish for the hat trick. Chris Boucher, 200th career NLL point. Power play goals this season. Entering this game tied in the league in that category. Matthews, too small. Over the top, scores! There's the power play trigger man with his 4th of the game. Smith backs off. Takes a look. Smith. Dish, and they bury on that one, Josh Byrne. Cree to have that one come out. Smith to Byrne, shoots, rising shot missed. That one finds the back though, as Nanaco gets the loose change and berries for Buffalo. Smith, some room, shoots, scores! Putting the team on his back. In it as well. Toronto trying to answer back. Schreiber behind the back, nice setup. Boucher scores! Oh, filthy from Tom Schreiber, setting up Boucher. And ties several times, now down by 2. Byrne shoots in desperation. Rose to stop. Where's that ball? At the side, Buffalo gets one. McKay sneaks it in when no one else could find it. The look over to Josh Byrne. Byrne finds an avenue. Around Cree, Byrne leaps, shoots, scores! Air Byrne takes flight, and Buffalo comes back to take the lead.
Crease dives. Oh yeah, never mind. Byrne with a beauty to get the game winner, and then of course Nick Weiss had an empty net goal. This was a weird game. The Toronto defense looked disheveled a lot of the night. Brad Cree was deked out of his shorts 4 or 5 times. Rebounds off to the side, loose balls. Nanaco got a couple of them. The one by Ian McKay, where Rose is looking the other way, couldn't find it after it popped out of his stick. Just strange. The whole game itself was runs. Toronto got out to a 4-2 lead, and then Buffalo picked it up and was 6-5 after 1. Nick Rose and the Rock defense were stellar in the second, shutting out Buffalo 4-0 for a 9-6 lead at the half. I'm very quiet by Buffalo-Toronto standards. Third quarter with only 3 goals scored, 2 of them power plays, 1 for either side. And then we have the whole craziness. We have Buffalo tying it. Toronto jumping ahead with Boucher and Matthews up 12-10 with 7.5 minutes to go. Toronto's looking pretty good, and then Buffalo puts it together. A 4-goal run to end this game, and just like the other game in Toronto, where Buffalo put together a 7-goal run to beat Toronto, they put together a 4-goal run to beat Toronto this time. What makes me think is that Tavares is out coaching Sawyer a little bit, adjustment-wise. Tavares is making continual adjustments. Sawyer makes his adjustments at half and really doesn't veer much from there. Last game, Bruce Cott had a meeting with his defense between the 3rd and 4th to get him back on the same page, and it worked. This time, it didn't go so well. They are still looking a little disheveled. This is coming from the league's top defense over the last few years. That's where it gets a little concerning for me because the team hasn't changed much. Mind you, having a Harris in there would really help. Having a Jubenville in there would really help. Mizuka was out for this game. So, again, this in and out of the injury reserve and throwing in different bodies all over the place is starting to take its toll. So, hopefully they get healthy by the time the playoffs roll around. Now that it's clinched, maybe they can just, rest a few guys and get this thing going. Because it gets a little bit curious at times. And then, again, the offense, the outside shooting is killing me because where are they scoring from? Chris Boucher's on the side of the net, but I don't see Corey Small there anymore. All of his goals are from the outside. So what is it? Just you go in, I'll take outside. The only guy who's in there consistently is Dan Littner, the smallest guy on the Rock roster.
Yeah. I mean, all that's definitely concerning. We'll get to that in a sec, Dave. I would say maybe the bigger concern is they just seem to have trouble. They're struggling at games in Buffalo. I believe.
Well, they've only won one of the last 9.
One of their last 9. So if there is a silver lining, it's that they are the top team in the league, and if they do have to play Buffalo in the playoffs, they'll have home field advantage.
But that doesn't seem to matter anyways, because it's actually closer for people from Buffalo to get to a Rock game than me here in Toronto. So it's usually a 50-50 split in there of Bandit fans. So it can almost, if the Rock fans aren't making noise, it can almost sound like a Bandit home game at times, which is weird. Then again, I watched that game last year where I think it was like 17-4. The Toronto beat on Buffalo, and well, there were a lot of empty seats there about halftime. But it happens. It happens. Let's see. A healthy Toronto squad is something I haven't seen yet this year. Right from the preseason, they've had major pieces out. So I'm hoping that with the way things are now, they're getting healthier, but they're not there yet. Let's see what happens this week. They face Halifax on Saturday. Marvel Comic Night. Ironically, their jerseys are the same as the Halifax jerseys. Just on a sidetrack, is it me or did they miss the mark? You got Time Schreiber listed as Captain America.
Perfect.
Isn't that a marketing thing?
Yeah.
No, we're going with never mind. It's just a marketer in me. Sorry. Anyways, so Buffalo comes up with a well-needed win in front of a huge crowd. And,
I mean they avoid they avoid the possibility of finishing with a losing record at home this year, so picking up their 5th win. But,
isn't that weird? Eh?
Yeah, definitely. But Buffalo doesn't exactly have an easy schedule remaining either. They're at Panther City, they're at Philly, at Colorado, who sure they're sellers, but there's some recent history there.
Yeah, right.
Their last home game, they're hosting Calgary, so that's not exactly a gimme. And then they finish at Vegas. So
that Calgary game's gonna be a track meet.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
If you're sitting in your center floor seats, your neck's gonna be sore by the end of that night.
Yeah, that's gonna be a goaltending duel too with Del Bianco and Vince. Oh.
Yeah. So
Vince was feeling it last night. He made some incredible saves.
Yeah.
I mean, just insane saves. And as the game went on, it was more Vince standard. Whatever rust was in there, looks like it's gone.
Lots of things I was saying, like what difference this has been since he came back from that injury. Hey,
the whole team is confident again. It's funny when your goaltender isn't playing well. The rest of the team is trying to compensate, which takes them away from their game. Which is, brings us to some of the things of some of the lower echelon teams and why certain things are happening, because they don't have any confidence in the back end.
Yeah,
they're not apt to push transition. They're not apt to go full bore offensive because they're always got one guy who's closer to run back to try and help out quickly. Whereas you have Del Bianco, Rose, Vince. If the odd breakaway goes in there, you are fairly confident that 8 times out of 10, they're making a save. So, All right, that brings us to our last game of the week, and that is Saskatchewan and New York. And only one guy picked it on our thing, Shawn, Homer.
Yeah.
The only right pick in our last 3 games of the week.
Manstriello, Boudreau, and Ned Hatties to outlast New York. Teams send out each score 4 in the loss. Let's have a look at this and see. Don't squint too much, guys. It's a lot of green in there. It's a
transition game, and they're going to run tonight. Church behind the net. Man scores! Set play right away, and Zach Vance goes flying from behind the net. 1-0 rush. Near side, Keenan. Backdoor look. Dodd scores! What a look to the backside as Patrick Dodds goes airborne. Hicks by Buffalo. Church now. Pick and roll with Triolo. Backhand. Triolo scores! Pick and rolls are on special here inside SaskTel. They're winning draws here, just giving their team possession, especially ones after goals. Jeff Mans underneath, dive, shot, scores! He's got a hat trick. I'm sure Dan Ladouceur is going to want to look at the replay, but as it stands, Zach Mans has 3. To Church, far side. Dog working hard to get him open in Church. That's what they call a bar down Bobby. Far corner, pipe it in.
Unit there, and that's what it is. Like, there's not one of those guys that is a world beater or maybe a defensive player.
Clark gets his first. Great pass from Kiernan to Taggart Clark, all alone on top of the crease. Here's Mans, watched by Ron John. Originally drafted by Colorado, came over to trade a couple years ago. His Church goes posted in. Church's second. Loose ball, Boudreau. Man, he's been good tonight. Still running Boudreau. Smith, one more, shot, scores! McClellan! 6 transition goals on the night. And that one might have been the prettiest of the bunch.
It was Stowe when they did get inside, but they have to start peppering Frank Chiliano right now.
Sundown! What a feed from Teat, and what a finish by Larson. Sundown keeps his feet out. Riley O'Connor, Teat with a backdoor cut, scores. Sometimes it's that easy for a guy like Jeff Teat. Mike Mallory got caught ball watching, and Teat pulled the string, and it's a 4-goal game. Shot clock. Giolo working, swims past Edwards. Dive shot, scored, what a goal! From a near impossible angle.
There it is. Well, New York, Sundown, Teat, a little bit of O'Connor. That's about it.
Yeah, and you heard their 6 transition goals by the Rush. They just ran them up and down the floor.
Which is what they should have been doing all year.
Yeah.
They have the young legs. They have the ability. Why they hadn't done it sooner, at least to this extent, I don't know.
I mean, we have a guy who's like,
up with them is Calgary.
I mean, yeah, because you got a guy like Boudreau getting a hat trick. I mean, he's a defenseman, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah, and something we didn't see in the highlights there. I think there were a couple of occasions late where Chiliano stopped O'Connor on the doorstep. Yeah, he had a couple of chances to put a couple more on the board, and Chiliano stood tall.
Well, that was the other thing. Like, Chiliano was outstanding again. I mean, if there's any question marks about him, I think that was kind of because the Rush outshot 55-43. So I mean, Chiliano saw a lot of rubber, and he made a lot of good saves. And it's a big win for the Rush to keep themselves back in that playoff race, and also for New York, a tough loss because again, those are 2 teams battling and kind of controlling their own destiny, especially this 2-game series, home and home coming up.
Which brings me back to my goaltending question: is Dunkerley the answer over in New York?
I mean, I think he has to be for now.
Yeah, I think he will be. I think he's still young.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can see why you're asking that, because there's a special wrinkle to this, and that's the fact that they're relocating to Ottawa. So maybe the relocation opens the door for for them to go after certain goalies that perhaps they wouldn't have been able to go after if they were playing on Long Island next year.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you're geographically a lot closer to a lot of guys' home base. So.
Yeah, and it's not going to cost them anything, really.
Yeah.
So they're scouting. This will be a very interesting summer for Rich Lesk, especially with the move there, and coming into the draft in late August, early September, and how they're going to handle that, because they've had a bunch of facelifts, but I don't think that's the issue now. But again, like I said the last time, it's good teams build from the back out. If your back is not confident, it doesn't matter if you have Gretzky there. It's not going to happen, right?
You can score 50 goals a game if you're giving up 17, 18.
Right. And if you
matter,
got Jeff
right?
Teat there, the greatest player right now in lacrosse, and yeah, he can only do so much, right? And if you're not comfortable back end, one of the reasons you don't see a lot of guys other than him scoring is because they're halfway, because they want to try and beeline back to try and be some help just in case transition catches them. You know, it upsets everything.
I'm just kind of going through
what's going on in the back.
Kind of going through the score sheet too. And I mean, for the most part, by the looks of it, that first half, like, Teat was pretty silent. It was more towards the second half when they started coming back. That's when they saw something going there. But for the most part, the Rush kind of shut them down until that second half.
Well, that's Ladouceur being smart and seeing and making his adjustments, right?
Yeah.
But still.
Yeah, I guess the other thing with the Clark trade, that might beg the question, what are they going to do with the older guys on the right-hand side? And I'm talking Keogh and Kyle Matisse.
And Clark looked pretty good the other night.
Because now, because I think a comment was already made that, they were looking towards having Clark be a big part of that right side. And that pretty much means you're going to have Clark, you're going to have Kiernan, you're going to have Austrian Madronic, and probably Colton Lidstone.
Well, honestly, how long do you think they have with Keogh or with Matisse?
Probably not long.
Yeah.
But,
so they have to start looking towards the future because
I just wanted to point out.
Well, they actually didn't have Keogh last night. Keogh was out.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to point that out just because a comment had been made about, the end goal of having a core of, all young guys that are all roughly around the same age, kind of growing them together on that right side. Because the left side, they're set for a while too, just with Teat, O'Connor, and Sundown. So.
Yep. Yeah, but it's the right side that's been their issue for years. And this is the first step, longevity-wise, towards rectifying that. Again, if they can draft a couple of guys that can fit into the system, perfect. But again, building from the back out is my concern. And that just doesn't seem to be the answer. He has some great games, and he has some terrible games. There's nothing in the middle. So we'll see. Upcoming, we got another busy week. We got 8 games on the slate for the NLL. It's Buffalo and Panther City Friday night. It's Albany and Calgary on Friday night. Both late games. We have Halifax visiting Toronto. That's going to be a barn burner. It's Marvel Comic Night. Also get there early if you want a signed comic or you want a comic or whatever. Vancouver is into Philadelphia. That by no means is a gimme. I like Vancouver. I like what they're doing. And they have a lot of scoring power. So if Philadelphia's defense isn't on par, I think that one's a tough one. Saskatchewan is going to New York, the back end, right, of the home and home.
Yeah.
Rochester is into Colorado. Las Vegas is into San Diego. And Saskatchewan plays again on Sunday. They're in Georgia for a 5:30 p.m. Eastern game. That's a tough one.
Yeah, and this is that 5 stretch of 5 games of 15 days. Starts next weekend, so.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 2 not easy games, so.
It's pretty much the only thing that's keeping them in this playoff race is the fact they played so few games.
Yeah. Well, Mike, that's your stats, right?
Yeah. I mean, they'll. Right now they're a game back, basically, of Panther City. So, they're going to make up. They're going to make up half a game just this weekend with the doubleheader.
See, I'm curious with that Buffalo Panther City game is which team shows up for either team.
Yeah.
Is it this Bandits team that played yesterday, or is it the Bandits team that played a couple of weeks ago? Is it the Panther City team that played Philadelphia, or is it the Panther City team that played Halifax? Just, there's so many questions of which style of team or which type of team shows up that it's bewildering. It's hard to make a pick.
True. And, I guess there will be the question mark too, because it's a home game for Panther City. Hopefully they can get Callum Crawford back.
See, that's a big piece. That's the missing link that we haven't touched upon. Is Callum Crawford hasn't played the last couple of weeks, and again, it's keeping the tank full too. But they need him to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the other game circled another Friday night game, the Albany-Calgary game. It's almost, it's funny with Albany with 10 wins. It's a must win. They can't lose 3 in a row. That's just not a good scenario for the team itself.
No, not this late.
And with Calgary losing to San Diego last week, this is a must win because they got to find a way to get in the playoffs. Jameson against Del Bianco. Pretty good goalie matchup.
Yeah.
Well, stay tuned. This is going to be an interesting week and pivotal also in the playoff races. See, I wasn't all that convinced when we went to just, 15 teams and whatever, my mind thinking, the top 8 is going to rise. But now with the way things are, it's anybody's ball game to get in the playoffs still. So,
yeah.
Unlike the divisional thing where it's more or less 6 of the 8 are already figured out by now, and they're just kind of playing ping pong for the last spot.
It's a good thing you bring that up because we posted earlier in the week about whether we thought the unified standings were working, and we used the example of, hey, here's how things would look if we were still in the divisional format, and when you factor in this weekend's outcomes, it makes the divisional format look even worse.
Yes.
Now, because your West would be San Diego at 10-4, and then everyone else is, sub 500 in the West. So, but you would have, Panther City and either Sask or Calgary would be in a playoff spot right now with the sub 500 record.
So this is a much better idea until we get more teams. Then it's going to be weird. But it will still work. I've always believed, get the top teams make it. Never mind having a team slide in with a 5-13 record just because they're located over in the West or the East for that matter. But anyways, just want to remind everybody that we are on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We are on Thread. We're also on YouTube and more stuff coming on YouTube every day. All kinds of things up there. Press conferences, interviews, retro games, fights, you name it is there. Plus our library of shows and other things up there too. So please visit all across all the time on YouTube. Subscribe while you're there. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell the guy down the street, tell the guy you work with. Let's build that thing up big. Please check our Facebook page 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day because the news is always changing and we're always with our thumbs on the pulse of the situation. We have everything going on continually, and we have news, reviews, recaps, articles, everything going on up to date with all lacrosse all the time. Like the way I segue that, I guess. But yeah, please. We thank you again for your patronage week in, week out, and all your positive feedback and all your positive comments. It really is wonderful to meet up with a lot of you and discuss lacrosse from all eras, because I've had a chance to talk with a lot of the older guys and some of the arenas lately, and it's so much fun to relive some of the yesteryear stuff through their eyes and some of the names that have come up and some of the teams. It's just amazing. And I feel very privileged to be part of this. And with the team that I have with me, I'm very privileged to work with these guys week in, week out. This is truly the best team around. And we thank you for following us and being with us. It's our pleasure to give you all this. Any last words, Shawn, over in Moose Jaw?
Oh, it's like you're saying, it'll be an interesting week as we kind of see how the playoff picture shapes out. And obviously here in Saskatchewan, we got a lot of lacrosse coming up.
Absolutely. It's going to be a busy couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And Mike over in Connecticut. Any last words?
Yeah, I'll admit I was wrong in one of my comments in the Pick'ems this past week that I thought there would be some more clear separation from the games this week, and the results proved otherwise. So I'm looking forward to next week because I think it's great for the league, great for all the fan bases that we are. We're about to enter week 17 out of 21, and no teams have been eliminated from playoff contention. So, and only one team has actually clinched a playoff berth. So I think that's huge for. I think that's huge for the league. I mean, we have 5 weeks left. So, if this was just off the top of my head, take the NFL. They play a 17-game schedule, and some teams have a playoff spot wrapped up. Would have had a playoff spot wrapped up a month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, the final week could be interesting because we could be seeing a whole whackload of scenarios on how this team's going to get past. This team happens, and this and that happens, and it's going to be wild.
Well, we saw the whole slew of things just for the Rock to clinch and all the different scenarios. Can you imagine that with getting into the playoffs with 4 or 5 teams battling for 2 spots?
Yeah.
That's going to be just great. Every game means something. It's not a game where it's just like mail it in. Every game means something, man.
Yeah, except I think it's going to be more like 8 or 9 teams battling for 4 spots.
Right. All right. Well, please keep following us, and we will have all the stats and all this stuff for you. For Shawn Slaght over in Moose Jaw, and for Muffler Mike over in Connecticut, I'm Gary Groob in Toronto. Wishing you the best of weeks. Happy St. Patrick's Day again. Go have yourself a green beer. We still got about an hour and a half here in Toronto. A little bit longer if you're towards the West Coast. Enjoy. And we will see you again next week at 9 p.m. Until then, have a great week.